evening, ladies and gentlemen. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has set the tone for the upcoming general elections with his 78-minute detailed interview to news agency I.N.D.I.A. His pincer strike on Sanatan baiters is the biggest political flashpoint tonight. Prime Minister Modi turned the tables on the Congress party by invoking Indira Gandhi and her belief in the Rudraksh Mala. He even asked what compels the Congress party to stand shoulder to shoulder with a party like the DMK that was born out of Sanatan hatred. Prime Minister Modi then went on to speak about Ram Lalla's Pran Pratishtha and called it a pivotal moment in his spiritual journey. He also put the spotlight on the opposition and said despite being invited, some parties didn't turn up in Ayodhya because they always put vote bank above their own beliefs. Listen in to what the Prime Minister said and watch how the politics around Sanatan is playing out 4 days before the first phase of polls.
सवाल हमें कांग्रेस को पूछना चाहिए। जो कांग्रेस जिसके साथ किसी जमाने में महात्मा गांधी का नाम जुड़ा हुआ था, जो कांग्रेस जहां इंदिरा गांधी जी गले में माला खुलेआम पहन करके घूमती थी,
रुद्राक्ष माला जो, हाँ, रुद्राक्ष
माला पहन करके घूमती थी इंदिरा जी। सवाल कांग्रेस को पूछना चाहिए कि तुम्हारी क्या मजबूरी है कि सनातन के खिलाफ इतना जहर उगलने वाले लोगों के साथ तुम क्यों बैठे हो भाई? क्या तुम्हारी राजनीति अधूरी रह जाएगी क्या? सचमुच में तो आपको गर्व होना चाहिए कि ये राम मंदिर निर्माण करने वाले जो भी लोग हैं जिन्होंने संघर्ष भी किया है, वे आपके सारे पाप भूल करके, सारे आपके गुनाह भूल करके घर में आकर के आपको इनवाइट कर रहे हैं और नए से व्यवहार शुरू करना चाहते हैं। आप उसको भी उस पुराने मिजाज से ठुकरा दे, तब लगता है कि आपके लिए वोट बैंक एक बहुत बड़ी आपकी मजबूरी है। मैं मानता हूँ ये न राजनीति का विषय हम लोगों के लिए है, न होना चाहिए और न कभी होगा। हमारे लिए एक जबरदस्त आस्था का विषय है जी।
हम राम व्यापारी नहीं हैं, हम राम पुजारी हैं। 22 जनवरी का समारोह जो था वो एक राजनीतिक समारोह था और एक व्यक्ति पर केंद्रित था, भगवान राम पर केंद्रित नहीं था, वो नरेंद्र मोदी पर केंद्रित था। धर्म के राजनीतिकरण के हम खिलाफ हैं।
The Prime Minister is speaking about the anger against DMK going to the BJP. Logically speaking, if there is any anger, if at all there is any anger, only the ADMK will be in a good position to reap it. Not the BJP, certainly not in the state of Tamil Nadu.
On expected lines, opposition leaders are criticizing Prime Minister Modi's interview. Congress party's Jairam Ramesh says PM said nothing on jobs, inflation, unemployment, farmers and other issues. They clearly want to reap political dividends only from the poll bonds controversy, while Prime Minister Modi said the poll bond scheme was launched by his government to fight the use of black money. Rahul Gandhi believes Prime Minister has been caught red-handed on the issue, and that's why he is giving interviews as damage control exercise. Listen in to what Modi said and then the response from Rahul Gandhi.
इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड न होते तो किस व्यवस्था में ताकत है वो ढूंढ के निकालते कि पैसा कहां से आया और कहां गया। ये तो इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड की सक्सेस स्टोरी है कि इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड थे तो आपको ट्रेल मिल रहा है मनी का। अगर बॉन्ड खरीदा, लोग ये जोड़ रहे हैं, उसकी विशेषता ये है कि ये जो 16 कंपनियों ने बॉन्ड खरीदा उसमें से 37 पैसा अमाउंट बीजेपी को डोनेशन में मिली। 63% बीजेपी के विरोधी पार्टियों को मिली।
अगर आप नाम और तारीख को देखोगे तो आपको पता लगेगा कि जब उन लोगों ने इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड दिया है उसी के एकदम बाद उनको या तो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट मिला है या फिर जो सीबीआई का उन पर इंक्वायरी हो रही थी वो हटाई गई है। तो ये प्रधानमंत्री पकड़े गए हैं, इसीलिए ये ANI को इंटरव्यू दे रहे हैं।
Now, when it comes to the issue of corruption, every major opposition party has a bone to pick with central agencies. Their leaders have even declared that if they come to power, they will put Narendra Modi behind bars. How did Prime Minister Modi respond to the misuse of agencies charge? He said, "Nach na jane, angan teda." Listen in.
हमने तो इलेक्शन कमीशन में सुधार किए हैं। आज इलेक्शन कमीशन बनता है तो ऑपोजिशन भी उसमें होता है। पहले तो प्रधानमंत्री एक फाइल पे साइन करके इलेक्शन कमीशन बना देता था और जो उनके परिवार के साथ निकट जुड़े थे ऐसे ऐसे लोग इलेक्शन कमिश्नर बने थे। अपने एक कहावत है, नाच न जाने आंगन टेढ़ा, और इसलिए कभी ईवीएम का बहाना निकालेंगे, कभी मूलतः पराजय के लिए वो कुछ रीजनिंग अभी से सेट करने में लगे हैं ताकि पराजय उनके खाते में न चढ़ जाए।
And finally, Prime Minister Modi also questioned the seriousness of Rahul Gandhi, who made the khatakat, paise aa jayenge declaration. Listen in.
अभी मैंने एक नेता का भाषण सुना, उन्होंने कहा एक झटके में मैं गरीबी हटा दूंगा। अब जिनको 5-5, 6-6 दशक देश का राज करने को मिला, वो जब आज कहेंगे कि मैं एक झटके में गरीबी हटा दूंगा, तो देश सोचता है ये क्या बोल रहे हैं। तो मुझे लगता है पॉलिटिकल लीडरशिप की क्वेश्चनेबल होती जा रही है। ऐसे में प्राण जाए और वचन न जाए, ये महान परंपरा से हम निकले हुए लोग।
So, ladies and gentlemen, the legitimate question on this edition of the News Hour is, has Prime Minister Modi put the India bloc on the mat on every issue this election? That's the question and the debate coming up on the other side.
You're watching the News Hour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
Joining the debate tonight, Shehzad Poonawalla, national spokesperson of the BJP, Dr. Anand Ranganathan, author, political analyst, Sanjay Jha, author, also suspended Congress leader, Abbas Haider, national spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party, Sabah Naqvi, senior journalist. But my first question goes to the lady, the woman of the moment, Smita Prakash of I.N.D.I.A, who interviewed Prime Minister. Thank you very much for joining us, all of you. But Smita, congratulations for you, as usual, getting the first interview of the Prime Minister this election season. But I want to ask you, when the Prime Minister made all these charges, what did you think? At the end of the interview, what was the takeaway? Was it his positivity, his agenda, the track record versus tape record that he spoke about? Was he confident only to speak about issues of delivery and how the road forward is looking? What were your takeaways?
Thank you, Navika. I think from 2014 onwards, any of us, you included, who have interviewed the Prime Minister, he's pretty clear on what he wants to say. He doesn't get bogged down by questions. He doesn't get bogged down by the opposition, but he does note every single criticism that comes his way. And he probably has a team also who give him this information. So there's a lot of teamwork that goes into it. About how he went about answering the questions. Look, as far as the opposition is concerned, it is their job to rebut the Prime Minister, rebut the ruling party. So I don't hold anything against an opposition party member who would be critical of the Prime Minister. But a couple of things which I'd like to say, when the DMK says that the benefit will go to the AIADMK when for the Sanatan comments. On this, if you recall, this is exactly how the communist parties used to say in West Bengal, oh, this is not going to go to the BJP, this will go to somebody else. Ultimately, the BJP creeps in slowly and takes away your vote. And that you can see happening in many states. That's what had happened. The regional parties lost out. The other point which was said was that about Ram Mandir being an event, a BJP event, and not a whatever religious event, which Jairam Ramesh said. The point is, how many of them have gone to Ayodhya after that? Fine, don't go for the Pran Pratishtha. Did you go after that? Because I may not, for me, if I am a voter and I'm looking at you, and for me, Ram is important, then I am looking to say that if you didn't go for that, did you go later? So people are noting these things. Many people think that it doesn't matter. Ram is not an issue. It is Naukri, which is an issue. It is corruption, which is an issue, or whatever you want to say, law and order. Everybody has a different reason that they go to vote for. But I think that emotive issues should not be put aside for a seasoned politician. The third is when the soundbite that you played of Rahul Gandhi, to say that Modi gives an interview क्योंकि वो डरे हुए हैं, क्योंकि वो पकड़े गए हैं. All through the 10 years that you have seen of the Prime Minister, he has never addressed the nation or given an interview out of a sense of fear or out of a sense of to correct a wrong. The timing of the interviews and the timing of the addresses to the nation have always been the ones that he chooses, and when it is his doing. And this is something that even before he became Prime Minister, he had perfected that art even as Chief Minister.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well said. And Smita, yes, I've been on the trail of Chief Minister Modi, for the longest time. And we've spoken to him at the time of his choosing. I still remember 2007 Maut Ka Saudagar moment. I was somebody who hadn't covered the party as such. I was more a policy reporter at that time. And he chose to speak to me on that campaign trail. He chose not to speak to many others. So is the opposition misreading the Prime Minister? And that's why I ask you, Sanjay Jha. Forget the opposition misreading the Prime Minister. Is Mr. Rahul Gandhi even misreading his grandmother? The Prime Minister has brought back the memories of Indira Gandhi in a Rudraksh मांगना. और रुद्राक्ष क्या होता है, मुझे लगता है आप समझते होंगे. रुद्राक्ष कौन पहनता है? जो शिव जी की पूजा करता है, विश्वास रखता है. और शिव जी की पूजा अगर करता है, विश्वास रखता है, तो सनातनी होगा और सनातन की तरफ उसका कहीं ना कहीं झुकाव होगा. लेकिन राहुल गांधी सनातन को एक्चुअली अब्यूज करने वालों के साथ खड़े हैं. That's the point the Prime Minister makes. And he also goes on to say that Pran Pratishtha, everybody was invited. It was about centuries old matter that was hanging fire. It was finally happening. For them to actually kick off and negate that invitation. The Prime Minister understands the emotions of this country. Has the Congress party lost touch with the emotions of this country? Sanjay Jha?
Navika, good evening. Let me try and respond to your questions in brief. Number one, I wish the Prime Minister had actually done a press conference. 10 saal ho gaye. I have never in my entire life seen a leader of a democracy in 10 years not hold a single press conference. What holds Mr. Modi back? The absence of a teleprompter, or the fact that he gets questions beforehand, or nobody probes him on his answers any further. I mean, these choreographed propaganda, PR, publicity-driven interviews, I think people can see through that. I mean, maybe the first couple of years, people were like, okay, he's a busy man. He can only talk to a few people. At the end of 10 years, I mean, come on, we got to be joking.
Come on.
When the
Sanjay Jha, okay, counter question. राहुल गांधी भी तो हमको बॉयकॉट करते हैं. बुला ले हमें. प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में ही बुला ले. सवाल तो पूछने दे. बुलाएंगे. पहला consensus item of the India bloc was boycott of 14 journalists. Oh, and you're talking about, freedom of the press and equal treatment of the press in a democracy, Dr. Sanjay Jha. Really
Navika,
rich coming from you.
Let me share one fact with you. Dr. Manmohan Singh, often criticized for being reticent, low profile. The BJP used to call him Manmohan Singh, he gave 117 press conferences. I've seen that data, including one very long and lengthy one where he called that if Modi became Prime Minister, I thought that was the most Nostradamus line. He said he would be a disaster for the country. I think the truth is, did Smita Prakash ask him a question as to why did he call the Congress manifesto a Muslim League? Did Smita Prakash ask him as to how come the man who actually turned approver on the Arvind Kejriwal case donated 55 crores to the BJP? I mean, there are fundamental issues of why the farmers are on the streets, why the young have committed suicide because they don't have jobs, why the CBI, ED and income tax only targets 95% of the opposition, why 25 leaders from the opposition who have joined the BJP have had 23 cases where they have gone in cold storage or they have been acquitted. I mean, are we not seeing a very blatant exhibition of the abuse of power, the insult of farmers, the destruction of the demographic dividend, a threat to the opposition, a complete fraud in political finance, where I think the electoral bond will have to go down. And I'm saying so very dispassionately, as the most vulgar exhibition of corruption in any country in the world.
All right. So, Shehzad Poonawalla, you have a charge sheet not submitted in court, but submitted to you on the Newshour. Please respond.
नाविका, आज दरअसल जो स्मिता प्रकाश के साथ प्रधानमंत्री का इंटरव्यू था, वो इंटरव्यू नहीं, वो रोस्ट था। ऑपोजिशन का रोस्ट हुआ है। और अगर आप ANI के YouTube में जाकर कमेंट पढ़ेंगी तो वहां पर मोदी ओपी आपको लगातार दिखाई देगा। और राजनीति के जो नूब है, जिनको उनकी पार्टी भी सीरियसली नहीं लेती, इसीलिए वो आज तक सस्पेंडेड है, वो इसी प्रकार की भाषा बोलेंगे। परंतु आज इस रोस्टिंग के बाद एक दृश्य, एक परिदृश्य बहुत क्लियर है। दो खेमे उभर कर आ रहे हैं आज। एक खेमा वो है जो प्रधानमंत्री मोदी के नेतृत्व में देश के लिए मिशन और विजन के साथ लगातार काम कर रहा है। इसलिए अर्थव्यवस्था को तीसरे स्थान पर, 25 करोड़ लोगों को गरीबी से निकालना, सामाजिक जन कल्याणकारी नीतियों को लागू करना, जिस प्रकार से हाईवे, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, एक्सप्रेसवे, एयरपोर्ट को दुगने रेट से बनाना। और दूसरा वो खेमा है जो केवल और केवल राजनीति के नूब बनते हुए अपनी फ्रस्ट्रेशन का रातों रात बयान करते हैं। और इस फ्रस्ट्रेशन में पॉलिटिक्स ऑफ डिवीजन, अपने अपने डायनेस्टी एम्बिशन और करप्शन और कमीशन को बचाने के लिए अनर्गल तर्क देते हैं। उसमें से एक तर्क यह है कि ईडी सीबीआई का मिसयूज हो रहा है। यही ईडी सीबीआई जब आपके केजरीवाल जी के ऊपर कार्रवाई कर रही थी तो 2 महीने पहले इसका स्वागत किया जा रहा था। यही ईडी सीबीआई पर जब सुप्रीम कोर्ट रूल करती है तब उसको स्वीकारना नहीं है। और यह सुप्रीम कोर्ट अगर इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड पर फैसला सुनाती है तब उसको स्वीकारना है। यही ईडी सीबीआई के लिए आम आदमी पार्टी कहती थी कि छत्तीसगढ़ के मुख्यमंत्री को शराब घोटाले में गिरफ्तार करे तब वो ईडी सीबीआई ठीक है। यही ईडी सीबीआई की कार्रवाई को बेसिस बनाकर खैरा जी को जब गिरफ्तार करता है तो आम आदमी पार्टी कहती है बिल्कुल ठीक है। तो मुझे लगता है ये राजनीति के नूब अपना अलग अलग चेहरा दिखाते रहते हैं। परंतु जो सवाल प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी ने उठाया वो ये था कि वोट बैंक की मिले ताली, इसलिए मैं दूं हिंदू सनातन को गाली। अरे नाविका जी, ये महात्मा गांधी और इंदिरा गांधी वाली कांग्रेस कहां रही? ये तो राहुल गांधी वाली कांग्रेस है। भाई, महात्मा गांधी जी क्या कहते थे? रघुपति राघव राजा राम। महात्मा गांधी हे राम कहते कहते चल बसे। उनकी समाधि पर हे राम लिखा हुआ है। संविधान के पृष्ठों में आपको प्रभु श्री राम की तस्वीर दिखती है। और यही कांग्रेस पार्टी राम जी के अस्तित्व को नकारती है। यही कांग्रेस पार्टी राम मंदिर के प्राण प्रतिष्ठा का विरोध करती है। यही कांग्रेस पार्टी उस सनातन विरोधी डीएमके के साथ बैठी रहती है जो कहती है सनातन को समाप्त करना है। यही कांग्रेस पार्टी के अध्यक्ष के बेटे कहते हैं सनातन बीमारी है। यही कांग्रेस पार्टी की एक और साथी समाजवादी कहती है हिंदू धर्म धोखा है। रामचरितमानस को पोटेशियम साइनाइड कहती है। इसीलिए मुझे लगता है महात्मा गांधी से राहुल गांधी का ये जो सफर है ये दिखाता है कि जनता से टूट चुका है बॉन्ड, नहीं बची राजनीति का ग्राउंड। इसलिए करना है आर्ग्यूमेंट अनसाउंड। और जो लोगों को कांग्रेस पार्टी सीरियसली नहीं लेती उनके तर्कों का, ऐसे राजनीतिक नूब के तर्कों का जवाब मैं तो नहीं दे पाऊंगा। ये चार्जशीट अगर कांग्रेस पार्टी सीरियसली ले
let's respect the contrarian point of view. Sanjay Jha is an esteemed panelist.
मैंने किसी का नाम नहीं लिया।
Anyway, आपका इशारा किस तरफ है, आपका इशारा किस तरफ है हम लोग समझते हैं। लेकिन यहाँ मैं उनको डिफेंड करूंगी क्योंकि माननीय पैनलिस्ट हैं, तो आप don't take digs at him because you have made your point very vociferously. But Sanjay Jha, आप 100 वाक्य बोल चुके हैं. अब तो मुझे दूसरे पैनलिस्ट को अंदर लाने दीजिए.
एक वाक्य. अरे 108 वाक्य में तो एकदम शुद्ध हो जाएगा. एक वाक्य सुन लीजिए. मैं तो ये कह रहा हूं कि प्रधानमंत्री ने नूब किसी का नाम नहीं लिया, पर राहुल गांधी की पार्टी रिएक्ट करने लगी. अब मैंने भी सस्पेंडेड किसको कहा है वो मैंने नाम नहीं लिया. अगर कोई रिएक्ट करता है तो मेरी बातों को वही सत्यापित करते हैं कि कांग्रेस उनको सीरियसली नहीं लेती. केवल नाविका कुमार उनको शो पर बुलाकर सीरियसली लेती है.
नहीं, मैं यहाँ आई विल से दैट 2 सस्पेंडेड लोग हैं जिनको मैं जानती हूँ और बहुत इज्जत करती हूँ. डॉक्टर संजय झा और आचार्य प्रमोद कृष्णम, दोनों की मैं बहुत इज्जत करती हूँ और मैं जब बुलाती हूँ तो मुझे उन पर मारे हुए पॉट शॉट्स अच्छे नहीं लगते. बट डॉक्टर संजय झा, I want to raise a serious question. Sabha, just give me a second. I'll come back to you. But Sanjay Jha, the question here is Rahul Gandhi. Who is he seen with? Not with Sanatan, not with Ram. In fact, even in Wayanad, he doesn't even have a Congress flag. Why? Because he's scared the Muslim League will take out the flag. There'll be another controversy, which he doesn't probably want at this stage. So no Congress flag. And who is he standing with? The Tukde Tukde gang. I want to ask you, Sanjay Jha, has Rahul Gandhi made up his mind that he has to reduce the Congress to a situation where only, I think, even God may not be able to help the Congress party?
Now, Navika, a pertinent question. Let me again try and respond to it quickly. Number one, I take strong objection to the way Mr. Amit Shah, India's Home Minister, actually commented on Wayanad during the last Lok Sabha elections. He actually said that the flags being waved in Wayanad, is it in India or Pakistan? This was India's Home Minister talking about a state which is easily the most advanced state on all socio-economic parameters. It's also called as God's own country. And, to mock Kerala or the Wayanad constituency was in such poor taste. Now, you can't change the BJP's obsession with trying to bring religion everywhere. I think the people of India are aware of that. But there's a second point that you asked me on Tamil Nadu and the whole Sanatan controversy. Why is Mr. Modi starting it? Because let me tell you, anybody, Navika, who was a prime minister for 10 years, would be actually going to town talking about data and tangible achievements on which he should demand a mandate for the third term. Mr. Modi has nothing to really talk about.
You didn't hear it, Dr. Jha? Yesterday he spoke for an hour and a half on his achievements and on the manifesto. आपकी problem ही यही है, Dr. Anand Ranganathan. ये सुनना नहीं चाहते जो इनको सुनना नहीं है, और जो ये सुनते हैं उसको ये क्रिटिसाइज करते हैं क्योंकि इनकी समझ में नहीं आता. अब मुस्लिम लीग की फ्लैग्स पर अगर अमित शाह जी ने कुछ कहा तो फिर उसका इतना असर हो गया कि राहुल गांधी ने फ्लैग्स ही उठाने बंद कर दिए. व्हाट इज दिस गोइंग ऑन? व्हाई आर दे ऑलवेज ब्लेमिंग द बीजेपी?
Navika, people are blaming the Prime Minister because they don't want the truth to come out. As simple as that. They can see the truth. The Indians who are going to vote for him, and by all means is going to be elected again, can see the truth that in the last 10 years, 120 million toilets have been built. And every new built toilet has saved the household rupees 52,000 in health expenditure. 110 million tap connections have been provided and diarrhea deaths under 5 have come down by half. 100 million gas connections have been secured and 150,000 lives are being saved directly as a result of this, because household pollution is the biggest cause of infant mortality. 330 million health cards have been given and 65 million Indians have been operated upon through these health cards. As a result, out-of-pocket expenditure is related to come down by half. 430 million mudra loans have been granted. 500 million bank accounts have been provided. 40 million homes have been built. 250 million people have been pulled out of multidimensional poverty. 1 billion Indians have been administered vaccines twice over within 1 year. 800 million Indians have been given free ration for 3 years. People can see this. I don't know how on earth can either provisional, unsuspended or suspended members of the Congress party can't. But it is irrespective of that. The question that you asked is, and the question that was rebutted was Why is the Prime Minister always talking about Hindu, Muslim, Ram, Janmabhoomi, this, that? The fact of the matter is that out of 100 things that the Prime Minister utters, maybe 7 or 8 are related to the other issues, 90 are related to the things that he has done that I just narrated. And of those things that he talks about the Ram, is it not a fact that the Sanatan dharma was abused virulently by the DMK and Congress is an ally of DMK? Is it not a fact that Sanatan dharma was thought to be eradicated, that it was compared to virulent diseases, that the DMK minister said Hinduism is a menace to the world? What did Rahul Gandhi do? Has he criticized them? No, he hasn't. So even those questions are valid. I don't know what the grouse is. I'll tell you what the grouse is. Because the fact of the matter is that in 2014, our GDP per capita PPP inflation adjusted was rupees 3,800. Today it is rupees 6,400. In 2014, inflation was 10%. Today it is 4.9%. In 2014, multidimensional poverty, as I said, as a percentage of population was 29%. Today it is 11%. In 2014, FDI was 305 billion. Today it is 650 billion. In 2014, there were 74 airports. Today there are 149. In 2014, number of cities with metro was 5. Today it's 20. In 2014, 21,000 kilometers of rail network was electrified. Today 62,000 kilometers. This is the difference. Data नहीं चाहिए तो क्या चाहिए आपको? बस इधर-उधर की बातें करते रहो.
आपका नाम गिनेस बुक्स, आपका नाम चाहिए गिनेस बुक्स और वर्ल्ड रिकॉर्ड्स में, because you've challenged Shankar Mahadevan with the breathless account that you've just given. But Sabha Naqvi, the question here is that look at Jairam Ramesh's tweet. रोजगार शब्द 2 बार, महंगाई दर 0 बार, बेरोजगारी शब्द 0 बार, महिला सुरक्षा 0 बार. You know, is this taking the opposition to the Prime Minister to a new low? Because the Prime Minister said many things about many things, but they can only pick up on some of these. And number 2, when Rahul Gandhi goes out and says खटाखट पैसे आएंगे और एक झटके में गरीबी चली जाएगी, is he pulling a fast one on the poor people in this country? Because if it was so खटाखट possible, why hasn't it happened so far? 60 years, as the Prime Minister said, when the Congress in one way or another was ruling the country, or since then?
Navika, if you allow me, I'll take up very little time, unlike all the other speakers. I have only one question. Please bear with me. To Smita Prakash's interview and to another interview 2 weeks ago to Thanti TV or something, the Prime Minister said that electoral bonds was the only way to track the black money. And now that has been taken away, how will we find out who's giving the money? I don't know. Who was finding out? We didn't know. The public didn't know. The opposition parties didn't know. No one knew, except the State Bank of India, which then said they had to take so many months to give the data. So I'm a bit baffled. Had I been given this hallowed opportunity, I would have asked, how would you know? You knew. That means you knew who was giving to your rivals. And I think some of the data, I don't know. I mean, it's prime ministerial data. So I'm sure my worthy people can answer me. I'm confused. How were we, the people of India, going to find out this opaque scheme that the Supreme Court has struck down, where the Prime Minister said, now we'll never find out about electoral bonds? To me, that was the news peg of this interview. And thank you, Smita, for bringing that out in the public domain. I would like an answer to that. That what is this? What is this secret? Was there a secret for us, the public, whose money it all is in the end? It's not some private fund, right? And then these lottery kings, all those big corporations, the allegations, there's data. There is simple data. Since everybody here is talking about data, I'm not even getting into religion and identity, number one. Number two, I will depart from this with a very simple point, that the DMK has also been an ally of the Bharatiya Janata Party in the past. So to say that it is an ideology of hate is interesting, because they have allied with them in the pre-Modi era. They have allied. So I completely see the ideological hatred towards Periyar, the ideology towards the Dravida ideology. It is the last ideology which is sort of standing there, taking on everything that the BJP represents. But I will again get back. I have a very simple question. Please explain to me how the Prime Minister was finding out everybody who was giving, how was it a corruption trail for presumably the ED and all who are going
electoral
to...
bonds. Electoral bonds.
I
Well, to pick on Smita that she didn't ask that question is unfair.
Can I come in?
Yes. Smita, respond first before I get in Shehzad.
Thank you. Sabha, you've been a beat journalist, so you know that. If you don't get an opportunity to question the Prime Minister, the BJP has a briefing every day. You can go there and do that. I don't need to tell you that you can go and ask the BJP that question. In place of the Prime Minister, the spokesperson will give you an answer. So that is one. As far as the other point that the DMK's ideology, the Periyar ideology, is the only ideology standing up against the Hindutva ideology or the BJP ideology, I doubt that.
I'm asking an electoral bonds. How was the public to know?
That's what I'm saying. I am not the one who's answering about electoral bonds. What I'm saying is that if you have a question to the Prime Minister and you don't get an opportunity on the electoral bonds, you can ask the BJP at the press conference that they hold every single day, which you know as a beat journalist. So the haloed opportunity is not a haloed thing. There are many journalists who get to do it every time, every year it happens. You know that the Prime Minister has given several interviews before every election, including Navika has interviewed him at least 3 times. So Times Now has done that. Every television channel, including Tanti TV, which is a very, very large viewership that it has in South India, including Tamil Nadu.
Smita, allow me to say, I've never said anything about your interview. I only have a question. So you don't have to be defensive with me.
No, because I think you made a point about a haloed interview and the pot shot was not missed by anybody. But
I want to know about the electoral bonds.
All right. So on the electoral bonds, Shehzad first, and then I'm coming to you, Anand Ranganathan. First, Shehzad, because party position, Shehzad, you need to clarify.
Yes, let me please come in. And I do actually fault Smita Prakash because unlike some other senior journalists, she did not indulge the Prime Minister in a dinner table interview where she could have asked him that, what do you like to eat, sir? Do you like to eat chicken? Do you like to eat vegetarian? Or how do you eat this? I think some other senior journalists have made it an art that instead of asking the tough questions of the Chief Minister as to why there is water shortage in Bengaluru or why there was corruption in Chhattisgarh, they go on dinner table with the CM and they say, "Acha, aaj khane mein kya hai?" So Smita Prakash, I actually castigate you that you got a hallowed opportunity to break bread with the Prime Minister, but instead you asked questions. So I am condemning you for that. Now let me come to the question. First of all, the Prime Minister was obviously quoting the Indian Express story on the electoral bond issue. There were 3,000 companies that actually took these electoral bonds. By the way, do you know how electoral bonds came into play? It came into play when the Law Commission recommended this and Parliament passed it. Arun Jaitley ji's speech, the historic speech was given and Congress supported it. And by the way, the first time the Supreme Court green flagged the electoral bonds before it ultimately struck it down as being not appropriate. So please get our facts right. Secondly, in this Indian Express story, it was clearly mentioned that out of 3,000 companies, 16 companies were such on which some ED CBI action took place. And the Indian Express story then quoted that out of these 16 companies, out of the chanda they have given to various parties, 37% was given to BJP, but they forgot to mention, which Prime Minister mentioned today, that 63% by implication went to opposition parties. ये कैसा तानाशाह है मोदी कि ईडी सीबीआई की कार्रवाई के बाद 63% बॉन्ड जाकर ऑपोजिशन पार्टी को दे देते हैं। सभा जी, मैं आपके बीच में नहीं बोला। सभा जी, मैं प्लीज, सभा जी मैं हाथ जोड़ता हूं। सभा जी मैं हाथ जोड़ता हूं, मेरी बात हो जाने दीजिए। मैं आपके सामने हाथ जोड़ता हूं। सभा जी, आप बहुत वरिष्ठ पत्रकार हैं, मुझे अपना प्लीज, मैं आपसे रिक्वेस्ट करूं, आप 10 सेकंड 15 सेकंड बाद बोल दीजिए मैडम।
You complete your point, Shehzad, and then I'll give Sabha the time for a counter. Yes.
हाँ, अच्छा, आखिरी पॉइंट, इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड पर ये जो अभी लॉटरी किंग के बारे में सभा जी ने बोला, सभा जी 1,100 करोड़ का लॉटरी किंग ने जो बॉन्ड खरीदा, उसमें से जहां उसका धंधा चलता है तमिलनाडु में, केरला में, वहां पर 1,000 करोड़ रुपए सुपुर्द किए। ये जो मेघा इंटरप्राइजेस है, इसका तो कोर्ट के आदेश में आ गया कि कांग्रेस को इन्होंने चंदा दिया, और ये जब चंदा विपक्ष को दे 2042 वाली पार्टी को 9,000 करोड़ मिले तो वो चंदा चंगा होता है, और भाजपा जिसकी 17 राज्यों में सरकार है, केंद्र की सरकार है, उसको 8,000 करोड़ मिले 303 सीट वाली पार्टी को तो वो धंधा होता है। इस प्रकार की हिपोक्रेसी आती कहां से है? और आखिरी वाक्य, हम लोगों ने हमारे मैनिफेस्टो में हाउस फॉर ऑल, टैप वाटर फॉर ऑल, पाइप गैस कनेक्शन फॉर ऑल, ग्लोबल मैन्युफैक्चरिंग हब की बात की, तो हम हिंदू मुसलमान करते हैं, और जिन्होंने शरिया की वकालत की, 3 तलाक की वकालत की, गाजा के पैकेज की वकालत की, वो सेकुलरिज्म का सूरमा है। तो मुझे बताइए कि ये हिपोक्रेसी आता कहां से है?
Well, let me get 1 minute. I know Sabha, you want to counter him. Okay, what's your question?
Allow me, I don't often take up much time when I come. मेरा सवाल ये सब भी नहीं है कि of course सबने पैसा लिया, बीजेपी को ज्यादा मिला, बीजेपी बड़ी पार्टी है, ये भी, लेकिन मेरा सवाल उनको पता कैसे चलता है? It is a question जो कोर्ट में कहा गया, the lawyers of the State Bank of India went to the Supreme Court and they said they have to first defend privacy. I followed the case fully. They said they have to defend the privacy.
Because that was the law at that time.
How did the Prime Minister feel that they could have known? Who would have known? Was it an anonymous scheme or not an anonymous scheme for the donors? I have very simple logical question. It's not even politics. I'm asking you a question.
All right. Logical question. Answers. Anand Ranganathan wants to answer. I'm coming to you, Shehzad. Yes.
Yes. Now, I just want to clarify a few things. Number one, the fact of the matter is that Sabha is correct in asking that question. Let's be very truthful about it. But here is the tragedy. Those bonds, I was against them for being anonymous, because it is in the voters' interest to know which company is paying which party for ulterior motive or conflict of interest. So it was wrong. But the fact is, because it happened, because it was passed by the parliament, because it was considered legal, how on earth can anybody defend retrospectively making out and coming out with those names? So the Prime Minister, it is not the fact that Prime Minister said, we know. Because a paper trail was created, the Supreme Court could have been well within its right to say, do not declare the names openly, give them to us in a sealed paper, and we will see if there is conflict of interest. I think that is what was meant, and if that was meant, that is fine. But I expect some modicum of ethics and morality in people on this panel to castigate retrospectively changing the law.
Okay, absolutely well said, but let me get in Abbas Haider. Abbas Haider, apologies for coming last to you. पर यहाँ इतनी heated discussion हो गई थी कि अगर किसी को मैं काउंटर का समय नहीं देती तो उन्होंने मुझे मार देना था, कहना था कि मैं डेमोक्रेटिक नहीं हूँ, सवाल नहीं पूछने दे रही हूँ. So apologies, but what did you think? What did you think about the Prime Minister raising the questions about प्राण जाए पर वचन ना जाए उनकी तरफ से, और ये जो ईवीएम, ईडी, सीबीआई, ये है नाच न जाने आंगन टेढ़ा?
Navika ji, Prime Minister is known to promote his failures as his achievement. He has promised the country to make a special task force to bring back black money from Swiss bank. But instead he has implemented electoral bonds. And look, when the government tried its best to not to disclose the data after the Supreme Court judgment and intervention of the Supreme Court, when the data is out, the Prime Minister is calling it as one of his achievements. I mean, this is quite ironical. We got to know that the Bharatiya Janata Party has got 550 crore from beef exporter. The idealistic party, Bharatiya Janata Party. The Prime Minister has made so many promises to the people of the country, but he has kept not even a single one. Navika ji, he has promised this nation to, I mean, the farmers of this country that their income should be doubled. But what happened? Today, he is not ready to give legal guarantee on MSP. He is not ready to set MSP as per the recommendation of the Swaminathan Commission. I mean, Prime Minister has promised to give Pakka Makan to every citizen by the end of 2022. He has failed to do that. Anand Bhai was telling about water. Let me tell you, 9.1 million people in this country, they don't have fixed water supply. 3.3 million children in India are malnourished. Out of 80% of the people have got poorer in 2020. They were Indians. This is what happened in the Modi Raj. Forget about what has happened during the COVID times in our country. And the Prime Minister, instead of accepting his failure, he is trying to tell all these things as his achievement. This is, Navika ji, quite ironical. And let me tell you, in our country, in the tenure of Modi ji, around 1 lakh farmers have committed suicide. On an average 35.
But let me get Shehzad Poonawalla to answer the question. ये बार-बार beef party आ जाता है. जो पार्टी सनातन के साथ खड़ी है, वो बीफ वालों से चंदा लेती है. Shehzad Poonawalla, this attack on the BJP comes every now and then. Would you want to respond to that?
I want to, but I want to give 10 seconds of my time to Abbas Haider if he promises to stick to it. Abbas, does India allow the export of cow meat? Say yes or no.
So that means there's a quid pro quo. That's what you are saying.
यही इनका हाल है, Navika.
That you are saying there's a quid pro quo.
1 second. Does India allow export of cow meat?
To some beef exporters, and then they are giving you donations.
Navika, can you reiterate my question for Abbas Haider?
You are establishing
Madam
a quid pro quo.
Navika,
what is the quid pro quo? This is a meat export company. There is no cow export allowed from India. So therefore, how can the BJP take money from a meat export company? Is a question you need to answer. Abbas Haider, answer yes or no.
Navika, it is my time.
No, that is what I'm saying.
It is my time.
That is what I'm saying. So you will give licenses to beef exporters. You will expand the capacity of slaughterhouses so that you can give more donations, you can get more donations.
Bhai, cow okay, Shehzad Poonawalla, respond. Shehzad Poonawalla, everybody's faders down. Yes, Shehzad,
Navika,
respond.
the reason I asked that question is because Mr. Abbas Haider, who may perhaps have a penchant for all kinds of meat, especially during Navratra, and that is okay, his culture and his other things may allow it, and he can well eat it, devour it. But the fact is that we do not export cow meat. So this is the lies they perpetrate. And this is coming from a party which says Hindu dharm dhoka hai. This is coming from a party which said that hum Ram bhakton par goliyan chalate hain. This is from a party which says Ram Mandir ke Pran Pratishtha mein nahi jayenge. This is from a party which said that Ramcharitmanas is like potassium cyanide. I don't need lectures about Sanatan from somebody who does not even believe in the S of Sanatan. Now, coming to the other issue, please, Navika, MSP issue was also raised. Navika, recently the Congress said MSP guarantee in its manifesto. When the question was asked to Praveen Chakravarti, do you know what he said to Karan Thapar? वो तो आपको इंटरव्यू देने से रहे, आपको तो बैंड लिस्ट में डाला है. आपको पता है प्रवीण चक्रवर्ती ने क्या बोला? उन्होंने बोला कि हम 23, वो भी अच्छी बात है, आप कहां लेने जाएंगी उनका, वो तो वैसे भी क्लूलेस और एमलेस है. पर मैं आपसे बता दूं, उन्होंने कहा एमएसपी 23 फसलों पे देने की बात गारंटी नहीं कर रहे हम. और उन्होंने यह भी कह दिया कि C2+50 के फॉर्मूले पे नहीं दे रहे हैं. अब मेरा सवाल है अब्बास हैदर से कि 2006 में स्वामीनाथन रिपोर्ट आई थी, तो 2014 तक उस पर मूंग क्यों डलते रहे? आपने लागू क्यों नहीं किया इसको? आप और दूसरी बात अब्बास हैदर, मैं आपके बीच में नहीं बोलता हूं, एक वाक्य केवल बता दीजिए. 2004 से भाई बीच में मत बोलिए, भाई बीच में मत बोलिए.
Well, the question clearly at this moment is simply this: the Prime Minister has clarified his position on several things. Has he spoken on 100% of the things? Certainly not. 78 minutes, not enough to talk about every single day of the 10 years that he has been in power. But the major issues between yesterday's manifesto release and this interview have been covered. Can the Congress party actually give a convincing response on the Sanatan charge? Certainly not. Can they give a answer to the issue of why are they with a vote bank and not with the entire country? Can they actually have a positive agenda, or can they only give solutions that are khatakat, but nothing happening fatafat? The question will be for the opposition. Well, the taste of the pudding is in the eating. The elections are here. The Prime Minister has put his point of view across. He's given his track record. Does the opposition have anything other than a tape record to offer to the people of India? Well, I can't judge that. You can't judge that. The judgment will come from the people of India, and they will decide on the 4th of June. Who they decide in favor of, we'll have to wait and watch. In the meanwhile, I guess fireworks is to be expected. Thank you very much to all my panelists, and thank you, Smita, especially for joining this show after that record-breaking interview with the Prime Minister.